everybody, welcome back to Tory Talk Celestial. Thank you for everybody who has been subscribing and actually been following and supporting us. For anyone who is new, thank you, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel, the link is below. We really appreciate your support and your following. Today we'll be talking about the role of an Onibode, and I'm joined with, hi, come on, introduce yourself.
My name is Leader Zaman Foshin.
Right, so today we're going to start off by talking about maintaining the holiness of the altar. Now, what does that mean? Because as far as I'm concerned, the altar is as holy as the people that go in there, right?
No, not really, because you're talking about maintaining the holiness of the altar. That is how you ensure that the altar remains a sacred place. So, and if you're talking about that, you're talking about what we do in regards to cleaning the altar, in regards to ensuring that people that goes in and out of the altar, they follow the rules and regulations, and that will mean that anyone that goes to the altar has to be wearing the loin. They have to be qualified to go into the altar.
What do you mean by qualified?
If I say qualified to go into the altar, because we have two altars, we have high altar and we have the small altar.
Oh, okay.
But in regards to the high altar, you have to be clean for 3 days before you
What do you mean by cleaned?
And if I say clean for 3 days, yeah, what I mean by clean for 3 days is what is required of all men. You're not even going to allow me to talk.
Okay.
Right. If I say that anyone that wants to go into the altar needs to follow the rules and regulations by staying away from a woman for 3 days. Not only staying away, but they have to sanctify themselves for those 3 days before they can.
For 3 days, I can't sleep with my husband if he wants to enter the altar.
You cannot.
What
You have to sign
newlyweds?
you have to sign the if you're newlywed, you can go on honeymoon. Your husband will not be available in the church. He will go with you on honeymoon.
Okay, uncle.
It's better to sign the contract when the journey begins, so that you both agree. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so as you were saying, regarding maintaining the holiness, it's more than just the people that go in there?
Yes, it's more than just the people that go in there. For example, the altar itself needs to be kept clean at all times. We change the altar cloths, in regular intervals, depending on the church. For example, we observe every 7 days, every 7 weeks, we clean the altar from time to time. Even imagine the eye mirror of the altar taking like 3 hours to be cleaned. Oh my gosh, 3 hours? Yeah, 3 hours to be cleaned. And you can't just ask anybody to come and clean it. You see how high it is. You have to climb a ladder in order to clean it. And you just see it, oh, it's shining. Yeah, and it has to be cleaned every other Sunday, every other week. So for everything to be, and also apart from physical cleaning, there's sanctification that is done in the high altar from time to time, and there's calling of the host of angels, calling on the glory of the Lord to descend into the high altar, so that everyone that comes into the church can be impacted by the glory of God that descended. For example, if you remember the time that Solomon finished building the temple of the Lord, he did pray that everyone that comes into that temple, that their prayer should be answered. And immediately he finished that prayer, the glory of the Lord descended, that even they themselves, they were not able to see themselves. And that is what we expect in the altar of Celestial, that the glory of the Lord should descend. It's because it is not only God that will actually descend into us. In order for us to be impacted, His glory descending is enough for anything that we want to achieve in church. And if you want to have a picture of what it really means for anyone that wants to approach an altar, a place where the glory of the Lord are descended, an example of that is in the book of Exodus chapter 19, where God was telling Moses that, okay, I'm coming to you in Mount Sinai. Ask the children of Israel, ask all of them to sanctify themselves for 3 days. And even though they've sanctified themselves for 3 days, and during these 3 days, God even told them that they are not allowed to see, to touch the women, that they should sanctify themselves for 3 days. And even on the 3rd day that they've sanctified themselves, as God had descended on the Mount Sinai, there's a barrier that was, erected around them. And even on the barrier, God was telling Moses that they are not allowed to touch the barrier. Even though they've sanctified themselves for 3 days, they are not allowed to touch the barrier. If they touch the barrier, God said that anybody, even if an animal touch the barrier, the animal will die. No, it's dead.
Yeah.
It's dead. So if you have that kind of understanding, then you begin to understand the sort of, God that you worship, the level of holiness that is required. For example, if I want to give you an example, maybe use myself as an example.
Yeah.
If I tell you that, every sultana that I wear, to iron them, I use sanctification water to iron them.
Oh.
And sometimes I use perfume. And that comes from the knowledge of, the God that you serve. The level of holiness that God requires, for you to be able to ascend into His holy hill.
Wow. I've never thought of it like that. That's a completely different perspective. And I think for us women, there's a lot of things that we don't know in regards to Onibodes and how they work, especially with the altar. We don't know a lot because as far as we're concerned, we can't go in there. So what do I need to know about it? All I need to know is that women should not go inside. So even as you're saying 3 days, I thought it was 1 day. I didn't know that it was 3 days.
It's 3 days.
It is well.
It's 3 days.
Okay, so the second question. As an Onibode, another thing I've noticed is that it's the role of an Onibode to correct and ensure that members are dressed appropriately during the service.
Yes.
How is that done?
Correcting members, because in a church, because we have to be known as an Onibode, you have to be spiritual. Not only spiritual, you have to understand the sort of people that you're dealing with. You have to understand them in a point of view of someone coming with the problem and coming to meet their God.
Yeah.
And as an Onibode, you must not be a barrier to that. You either, be someone that we enhance them or help them to be able to achieve their purpose in the plans of the Lord. And in order to do that, so maybe someone is dressed inappropriately, you have to talk to them, very, very politely. Not only politely, but you have to be, the way you approach it, if they don't want to take to it, because at that point that you're trying to tell them that, your dress is inappropriate, they might take it as an offense.
I've only got one goal and it's me and my God.
So they might take it as an offense, and it might not be easy for you to be able to bring them back. They might. I've seen a situation whereby someone talked to someone and the person left and went home. After they've come to church, traveled, a long mile to come to the church in order to come and worship or to come and pray to God. And if someone should go home through the approach of an Onibode, do you think God will hold that kind of person guiltless? So the approach really matters in the way. And if you talk to anyone, they don't agree to anything, you don't have to enforce it. Just leave it.
Okay. So it's almost like customer service, Uncle.
Spiritual customer service. Spiritual customer service, you can call it that.
Because I don't think, are these things that are instilled in you at the beginning when you was going up for the role as an Onibode? Because I don't think people think in their heads that, okay, as an Onibode, I need to be kind to people. As far as they're concerned, I should think that all you're thinking about is the spiritual and not, okay, I need to tell this auntie jejely that, the red lipstick you're wearing is against our law here. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes,
are people prepared in that manner? Are they trained to know these things? For
example, as an Onibode, we have meetings from time to time. Most of the things that we know is not something that can be taught whole because they are very, very practical. And there's some situation whereby you can't teach them because it's unpredictable.
Yes.
So most of the things is done by, is that most of the knowledge of Onibode, what to do, what to wear, how to approach, is achieved by experience. And depending on where you work, depending on the sort of shepherd, depending on the training that you go,
it varies.
And so it varies.
Yeah.
For example, you see in another church, they're very, very strict.
Yes.
You see in another church, they're not so strict.
Yeah, they're very laid back.
So it depends.
What is the English translation of Onibode?
For example, the word Onibode, if you think about it in Yoruba language, what it really means. For example, in Yoruba land, they used to have like a line or a sort of border separating one town from another.
Okay.
So Onibode comes from the word that they use, to address the people that stand maybe at the borderline of one town to another, probably checking who goes in and out.
Okay, I see.
So now in Celestial, even though we call it different names, but this
sideman.
The real meaning, we call it sideman sometimes.
I don't think that's the correct. Yeah,
it's not correct. It's not correct because according to the role and according to the Yoruba translation, so what sideman and sidewoman mean is like maybe like celestial border control officers.
Okay, I understand what you mean.
Maybe like we can call it celestial border control officers. And not only that, because that doesn't qualify Onibode as, in whole. For example, they are cleaners.
Yes.
Onibode must be able to clean. You cannot be an Onibode and not be able to clean. You have
clean like what, Uncle? Like
clean
candles,
the church, clean the trays. There are loads of things to be cleaned in the church.
I just thought that was everybody kind of job.
Everybody does their bit, but there's some limited places that they cannot get to.
Yeah.
And we have to ensure that it's clean. For example, if you're saying does anybody clean the glass?
No, not me.
Does anybody clean, there a lot of things out there, nobody. So cleaning is very, very important, and praying. Onibode is our prayer warriors.
Okay. I didn't know that before. I know that now.
They are prayer warriors.
So what is the importance of an Onibode standing at the entrance of a church? Like, why must they stand there?
Right. Like I said at the border, celestial border control
border control officer.
So they control the people that goes in and out. But most especially, there are some things that we do that people don't know, and we don't have to tell people.
Yeah.
As an Onibode, do you know that if you're well prepared and you're spiritually inclined, you control the whole of the service. You control the flow of the Spirit. You control you even control the prophets. You tune them when they are. For example, what I mean by that is that, for example, maybe a service conductor on a service day is very, very cold. As an Onibode, it's your duty to sense that and continue to pray for them. Sometimes the service conductor is even pronouncing the spiritual name, in the order of service, they're pronouncing it wrongly. As an Onibode, it's your duty to be able to pray that God should take control of that utterance. Every word because you see, the service of Celestial is not individual. No. It's congregational. So whatever happens to the service conductor affects everyone. It affects the whole church. It affects the service. So as an Onibode, it is your duty to pray for the service conductor. And another, scary part of it is when the Bible says that even the devil appears as spirit of light. Imagine that. So if the devil is appearing as spirit of light, and maybe a prophet now or a prophetess, they just thought they've seen the light of God, and they are just jumping up and down. So if anybody is not inclined and not praying that whatever spirit is going to dominate should not be that of the devil, whatever spirit is going to be, ministering to the prophet should not be that of the devil, then we might be in danger.
Wow.
So it's not only standing at the door. It's standing at the door to lift the cross. Sometimes according to the Spirit, sometimes you see them saying, oh, we are not lifting the cross. There might be a reason.
We don't know that.
So I know that people do get.
People just be like, what is that?
And sometimes you can see that sometimes, we don't want to lift the cross at certain times. It's because of the control of the service. Imagine someone is there praying and doing a silent prayer, and you are coming from outside. Immediately, you probably hit the person, you will distract them. We are supposed to make sure that everything is done in orderliness. Not that anybody should come and distract each other. So everything should be orderly and in accordance.
Wow. This is really blowing my mind because I've never seen these things from this perspective, and it's because of I'm very ignorant to the role of Onibode. I have no idea. As far as I'm concerned, if anybody asks me, I'll say, it's the person that left the cross on the door. One point that keeps being questioned is how many times are we actually supposed to go in the high altar? Because most people have heard that it's usually Sundays and new moons. That's not what we see often.
Right. If they're talking about the sitting in the altar, it's not even done on new moon services.
Yeah,
it's done only on Sunday. Now, sitting in the altar is different from going into the altar.
Oh.
People don't just go into the altar. For example, on a service day, maybe we'll go into the altar to probably light a candle.
Yeah.
Or maybe any shepherd's, outgoings or, into the altar in and out cannot be restricted.
No. Yeah,
a shepherd has authority to go into the altar and come as the spirit direct or as he wills. So, but in terms of any other person, there must be a purpose to go into the altar.
Okay.
There must be a reason. Even elders of the church, most of the time when they want to put something in the altar during the week, they ask the Onibode. Because even if they don't ask the Onibode, if we see something that is unusual in the altar, we remove them.
Yeah.
We remove them. So they know that they don't want to be in trouble. They don't want to be looking for their prayer item, the items that they've been praying for a long period of time or for some certain period of time. So they need to inform the Onibode that, we want you to please help us to put something. It's not that they don't have that access, provided that they are, they have abstained for 3 days, they have access. They can go in there.
Yes.
But it is better for them to seek, an Onibode, tell them that, we want to put something in the altar. Because that is our office.
Do Onibodes have the authority to correct elders in the altar?
Yes, they have the authority.
Okay.
But it has to be in a very, very respectful manner.
Okay, so it's the same customer service.
It's the same customer, and that one is even much more customer service. Because imagine you're correcting an elder. That elder is your senior in rank. That elder might probably know more than you, but they might be making a mistake.
Okay.
Probably by their, because sometimes there's some elders that is not intentional.
Yeah.
I've seen an elder not wearing loin, but it wasn't intentional. He didn't actually know, and he was almost entering the altar before I tapped him. And he was happy that I told him, and quickly went out to make an arrangement. Imagine if I stood before that elder and I said, how come you are an elder of the church and you're not wearing loin? How would he take it?
Yeah, that's
so it has to be in a respectful manner, and they can be corrected. They can be told that you're actually not doing something right, but you're doing something wrong.
Okay, so we're going to backpedal now because I want to understand the real breakdown. What is a man supposed to do? He has fornicated, he's coming to church, and he's an Onibode. I want to know what he has to do.
What do you mean fornicated?
Fornicated as in fornication. As in he has committed the fornicationness. We cannot act like sin is not occurring.
No. You see, if you're talking about what someone has done, because immediately you're saying that, this is what this person has done, are you passing judgment?
Not necessarily. I mean in terms of, because you said that a man should not go near his wife for 3 days.
Yes.
Okay, a Onibode who is not married, that perhaps has a girlfriend and has slept with her.
Okay.
What should he do? He still has work to do after 3 days. Is it that you just don't touch her for 3 days and you carry on as per usual, where you're to turn her and go in?
No.
Is there sanctification that a man is supposed to do?
Definitely. Now, there's something in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 2 from verse 19 to 21. It says that there are different vessels in the house of the Lord.
Yes.
There's that of gold, there's that of silver, there's of wood, there's of the earth. Now, in terms of all these vessels, if you go to verse 21, it says something very significant. It said that if a man will purge themselves from the latter, you see, when the Bible talk about purging, it's not outwardness, it's internally. And if you go to the book of John 17, it says that, the word of God sanctifies us.
Yes.
So if you're talking about internal purging, I don't know the way it works with someone else, but I know that, I have a different feeling when I've read the word of God internally, and when I've not read the word of God. So in terms of the purging, I can understand what it means in terms of experience. So it now says that if a man has purged himself from the latter, purging is internal, right?
Yes.
And it now go further and says that and sanctify themselves, that they will be useful for the master. Who is the master? God. And it did not say just useful, it said that for every good purpose.
But Uncle,
as
on
a
the,
vessel,
on the,
as a vessel of
on the
honor.
matter of
No,
male sanctification, because we don't hear about men having to sanctify themselves.
You've not allowed me to learn.
Okay, I'm just making sure you don't go somewhere else.
You've not allowed me to learn.
Okay.
No, I'm
Learn,
going
Uncle,
into
learn.
that. I'm just trying to tell you.
No, I understand what you mean.
I'm just
by
trying
backing it with the word. Yeah.
So now, in terms of, I just have to use myself as an example. Right? There's no time I bath that I don't sanctify myself.
Okay.
There's no time. There's no time, even if I don't, if it's a time that I don't even have, sanctification water at home.
Yeah.
Which we do vigil on every Tuesday, to bath ourselves.
Yeah.
Even if I don't have sanctification water at home, if I have a perfume, I will use it.
Okay.
If I don't have sanctification water, I don't have perfume. I have the word. I will speak to the water. God, turn this water to the blood of Jesus.
Okay.
By the time I'm using it on my body, let it sanctify me. Let it purify me. So that by the time I'm coming to your presence, I will not be, a vessel of condemnation.
Understand.
But a useful vessel.
So Uncle.
So now, if you do this at all time, it still does not mean that
it doesn't justify.
It does not justify that you can take away the 3 days.
Yes.
It does not mean that you will take away, because by taking away the 3 days, you're still going against. That is an intentional, sin.
Is it 3 days that they must not come into the church, or 3 days that they must not go into the high altar?
3 days not going into the high altar. You can come into the church, but not going into the high altar.
Okay.
Even if you have something to do with the small altar, 1 day abstinence is still okay for the small altar.
Okay.
But 3, it's just that you cannot do something now and then come to the small altar. That one also is not right. I don't know how some people do it, but
I get what you mean.
It's not right.
Yeah. So wow. So the job very much is no filthy zone.
Is no.
Don't bring dirt here.
Imagine what we said about the children of Israel, like when God was telling them that you're coming, I'm coming to speak to the children of Israel. And even though God creates a barrier, that creates a barrier around the camp, around the place I'm going to be talking to you, because you are the only one and Aaron that will be coming inside the barrier. And it was even instructing them that even the people that have sanctified themselves for 3 days, that have abstained for 3 days, they are not allowed to touch the barrier. Now, so that will give you a picture of the God that you're serving.
How holy, His standard of
How
holy.
and what is required of you. And if you know that, to be honest, you won't be mistaken.
Wow. Well, Uncle, thank you very much. You have not just wowed me, but you've given me a new perspective on the role and the expectations of Onibode, which is very, very high. We did not realize before. Please forgive us. We thought it was just to be lifting the cross. Lift the cross, sanctify my sultana, let me go.
It's more than that.
But I really appreciate your joining us today. Thank you very much, everybody who has learnt. Feel free to comment, like, subscribe, especially comment. We want to hear your thoughts and any perspectives that you may have. And if you feel like we've missed anything or you want us to cover any topics in the later future, please let us know. Thank you.